Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
So there's some drama unfolding with Trump and the Panama Canal, and China's got a hand in it. Trump's comments about possibly taking back control of the canal seem to be a reaction to China's growing influence in the area. They've been investing heavily in Panama, especially around the canal, with port operations and infrastructure projects. Panama's President Jose Raul Molino isn't thrilled about Trump's threats, especially since China's involvement has raised eyebrows about control and security over this vital trade route. It's interesting because the canal's management shifted to Panama in 1999, but now with China's investments, there's a new layer of geopolitical tension.
Yeah, China's got a lot of goods going through the Panama Canal, and they're pretty heavily invested in that waterway. And if Trump takes it over again, and the way he likes to talk about tariffs, it doesn't look good for the Chinese, commerce. So I'm sure they're going to fight it tooth and nail.
Store in California is pricing items at $951 in order to get shoplifters to be charged with grand theft. Because, product near $1,000 right at the bin. I guess they say $951 cause after taxes, it'll be over $1,000. Be able to hit them with that grand theft. So them charges are really a stick and a fake. Someone, stealing bullshit under a ban, the niggas get a pat on the back. So this owner definitely, got a high IQ, because it's pretty smart, though. It say all items in the store will be marked at $951. Non-criminal discounts applied at checkout for all paying customers only. The state of California will prosecute all shoplifters under the CA Penal Code 487PC, grand theft.
So as usual, I'm late to the party. I just found out about this yesterday. I wish I'd known about it sooner because we just in California voted to reduce the felony minimum, and it was $950, and this guy, in a stroke of genius, priced everything at $951. So if anybody went in there and just stole a single item, boom, it's a felony. Genius. It's genius.
Viral video showing an accused shoplifter shocked to learn that she may face a felony charge for theft. The Southern California Police Department is now reminding folks about the new Prop 36 law that cracks down on low-level theft. Matt Finn live in Los Angeles to explain all of this. Memo to shoplifters. You can now be prosecuted.
That's right, John. And here in California, we've reported on countless cases of brazen theft, shoplifting with no significant consequences. But last month, California voters overwhelmingly approved the new law, Prop 36, which rolls back criminal justice reform policies that critics say led to overwhelming crime. Police and prosecutors now have more leeway to charge crimes as felonies. Like this video from Seal Beach in Orange County. 3 women walk into an Ulta Beauty store and then a Kohl's, casually stealing whatever they want, not even trying to conceal some of their stolen goods. Even after leaving the stores, the women, they're in no rush, but are surprised when Seal Beach police run up on them, and after a short chase, they arrest the thieves. Take a listen here as a police camera captures 2 of these young women talking about their shock that they were arrested for a felony.
That's a felony? New laws. Stealing is a felony. And this is Orange County. They don't play.
The 3 women were booked into an Orange County jail on charges of grand theft, conspiracy to commit a crime, and resisting arrest. Something that would not have been possible just a few weeks ago here in California.
And you know what really burns my biscuit? Is that these individuals will be charged with a felony, as they very well should be. That's great. But our great governor has decided that we have sanctuary cities and sanctuary counties, and that we're not going to help the government prosecute those other people who are breaking the federal laws.
I hate to admit it, and you hate to hear it, but I think Musk is completely right on this one. America is in dire need of not only term limits and age limits, but cognitive testing for their elected officials. Like, it should be raising way more alarm bells than it is that a congresswoman was able to disappear for several months and be found living in an assisted living home with dementia. I'm sorry, but our politicians should not even be allowed to be old enough to be worrying about dementia, and if they are, they need to be getting tested regularly because we cannot stand for this. Someone who is not cognitively fit enough to do their job is not cognitively fit enough to run our country.
I'm all for it. I absolutely agree. It should be done, definitely. Without a doubt, we need to know that these people are mentally fit. If they're running our country and they don't know what the hell they're doing half the time, yeah, that's a problem.
President Biden signs 50 bills into law. As President Biden is set to leave office on January 20th of 2025, he made sure not to miss the holiday rush. Shortly after pardoning 37 of the 40 inmates on federal death row, President Biden signed 50 bills into law on Christmas Eve. Paris Hilton's bill, known as the Stop Institutional Child Abuse Act, was signed into law, along with Senate Bill 932, which prohibits certain members of Congress from receiving a pension if convicted of certain crimes. The Stop Campus Hazing Act was signed into law. The bald eagle is officially the national bird of the United States of America, with Biden signing Senate Bill 4610. There are more bills on the docket for President Biden to sign, such as the Social Security Fairness Act.
While it's not terribly uncommon for a president to sign a whole bunch of bills at the end of their term, I do find it very interesting that the bald eagle was not our national bird, like officially. As a child, I remember, oh, the bald eagle is our national bird, but it was never actually like official. And that's crazy.
So, Elon Musk, right? I know he has Starlink and all this stuff in space. So people are wondering, why isn't he doing anything or saying anything about the drones? And the reason why he's not saying anything or doing anything is because he can't. Elon Musk is still working with government. You think he can just come out and be like, oh yeah, everybody, look, the aliens and the drones, this is who it is, and this is what's going on. They're coming to attack us, and they hate all humans because we like to eat chickens. It's happening right now, and there's nothing we can do about it. And yeah, we're all going to get destroyed. No, Elon Musk can't say anything, okay? Trump is still the boss. But I guarantee you, when Elon Musk does come out and start saying anything, and Trump does give him the okay to go get these guys, whatever this is, because the world is about to end, the drones are here, the aliens are here, it's over. But when Elon Musk gets to go, we will finally see the real Iron Man. The real Iron Man of humanity. It would no more be a comic, a Marvel. It will be reality. You'll see Elon Musk with his suit on, with rockets coming out of his arm. That'll be great. Don't want to mess with Elon Musk. He might have a robot right there too, looking at you with the AI ingrained into his brain. Listen here, drones. You want to come out here on Earth and mess with us? Elon Musk will be there as our superhero Iron Man. Have a good night.
That's silly. I don't know that he's going to be like Iron Man, but I definitely think that he kind of has an idea of what's going on because he's all Mr. Tech Wizard guy and stuff. But he really can't say anything, not yet. And then once Trump is in power, I'm sure he's going to like unleash him, and we're going to know like right away what the heck is going on. If it's not revealed between now and the 20th, I think we're going to find out pretty quickly.
I've got a Luigi Mangione conspiracy theory for you. What if this is just phase one? What if Luigi agreed to be the front man in a multi-leveled, detailed plan to begin making a dent in capitalism? Maybe the YouTube page was set up in his name on purpose because it does support his past history and his story. The manifesto is real, but he's just the first domino in this whole effect. We were told December 11th that something new would emerge. And sure enough, although Luigi is in custody, papered all over Manhattan were wanted signs for CEOs, which tells us there are more people involved in this than we think. In a game like this, sacrifices must be made. And while Luigi keeps the feds busy, perhaps the real puppeteer, the real orchestrator is at home smiling, getting ready to unfold phase two. What do you think?
There is absolutely zero shortage of speculation in this whole Luigi Mangione case. There's people saying he did it, he didn't do it, he's a front man, it's a cover, all this other stuff. But all in all, a lot of stuff is being brought to light, and I think that was the main goal, and I'm hoping that change comes with all of this disaster.
How did we go from fighting a revolution over a 2% tax on a breakfast beverage to what we pay today? We're taxed on money when we receive it, when we spend it, when we invest it, and even when we die with it. We commute to work to make that money in a car that is taxed again to register on roads we're already taxed to build, fueled by gas that is taxed even further. And then when you get to your office that is taxed to exist, you are paid a paycheck that the corporation must match another payroll tax on top of what they have to pay you. Then you go to a home of which you are taxed to own every single year that we bought with money that the government already taxed us on. But it wasn't always like this. In fact, in 1895, the Supreme Court ruled any federal taxes against its citizens were unconstitutional. So the government did what the government does best. It protected and expanded itself by passing the 16th Amendment. Basically, the government gave us the middle finger and gave themselves the power to basically do whatever they want. People back then were more angry about that 1% tax rate than we are about our 37% tax rate today. That is the power of creeping gradualism of government that I'm always warning you guys about.
Oh yeah, taxes are absolutely crazy. And if you own a business, it's even more ridiculous. I just talked to my graphics designer the other day, and he said that he was going to give himself a bonus, but the government wanted to take 60% of it. 60% of his Christmas bonus he wanted to give himself. He's just like, no, I don't need to do that. That's fine. 60%.
Don't be silly. If it was a working class revolution, the ruling class would already be thinning the herd. You know, playing chess, not checkers. They'd be poisoning the air, poisoning the food, poisoning the water supply, making sure the populace is constantly exhausted, unhealthy, distracted, and barely getting by, forcing the people into a system where they have to constantly work but never get ahead, generally keeping people fighting for survival rather than fighting them. They'd be sowing divide in the populace by age, race, gender, politics, religion, and keeping groups constantly fighting each other. You know, fighting each other so that we don't fight them. And they'd set an example out of anyone who steps out of line and fights back against them. They'd be infringing on your human rights, like taking away your free speech or your bodily autonomy. And they'd constantly feed you propaganda to try to control public opinion on everything. If the ruling class were doing any of those things, then the working class should probably start organizing with their community, setting up mutual aid, unionizing at their job, and boycotting all mega corporations. Hope this helps.
Yeah, because there's nothing like that going on, is there?
Is it a cast or is it an ankle monitor? Well, that's the newest conspiracy after Kim K debuted her cast. For legal reasons, of course, this is all alleged and just rumors. But a lot of people are asking whether or not her injury is just a cover-up for something bigger, like an ankle monitor. Now, what would she need one for? Well, people are linking this to Diddy. It always comes back to Diddy. It's not unknown that the Kardashians, especially Kris Jenner and Corey Gamble, have had a lot of ties with Diddy. Many have even gone as far to say that Kim became a lawyer in preparation for this if it ever got out of hand. So she would be able to represent herself and her family into getting out of any legal troubles. They say she allegedly came out without the cast at first to get us prepared, and then once she got the alleged fake ankle monitor, out came the cast. This one is heel-shaped, very on brand. This is pretty humorous and a little bit far-fetched. However, nothing would really surprise me.
So in my personal time, I don't pay much attention to the Kardashians because I have a life. But I also have a channel that talks about weird conspiracy stuff, and we gotta bring these things up every now and then when they come across my feed. So why would she have an ankle monitor? We all know that she's in cahoots with Diddy in one way or another, right? Is that the thing? I don't know. But what does drive me crazy is that she had her cast shaped like a freaking heel. Why? And then I remember that they're vain. Yeah, I just don't care.
So I'm researching the Philadelphia experiment, which is that time that supposedly the US Navy teleported a ship from the Philadelphia Naval Yard down to Norfolk, Virginia and back, and I came across something weird. And yes, I understand that in the context of what I just said, something weird, it kind of feels like a weird statement, but bear with me. So on January 1st, 1934, Nikola Tesla told a New York Times reporter that he was working on a particle beam weapon that could bring down up to 10,000 enemy aircraft at a distance of 250 miles. 6 years later, he talks to the Philadelphia Inquirer about his death ray idea and how it could be used for defense, especially in the now ongoing World War II. That's really the majority, if not the entirety, of Tesla's relevance to the Philadelphia experiment, but the weird thing I found is that when he died on January 7th, 1943, all of his documents and property were impounded by the US government. Now, of course, we all knew this, you know, there was some weirdness about Tesla and when he died and all of the things he researched and all of the things that he talked about that just kind of never came to fruition. It's unclear if he was a Leonardo da Vinci character who was just ahead of his time, or if his stuff just wouldn't have worked, but I'm not a physicist, so I don't know. The point is, the guy who was in charge, the main government official who went over Tesla's secret papers, was Dr. John G. Trump, the uncle of President Donald Trump. I swear to God, time is a flat circle.
So if you are unfamiliar with the Philadelphia experiment, it was conducted in 1943, which is the same year that Tesla passed away, and they got all the access to his stuffs. So, yeah. And Donald Trump's uncle supposedly had access to some time travel stuff. We've talked about it before. Maybe I'll bring it up again.
I don't fuck with conspiracy theories. But wouldn't it be crazy if the way the tariff regulations are written, it only applies to goods that go through United States ports, and Amazon has used a bunch of money to build an offshore shipping facility and are testing how to use drones to deliver things directly from said facility to the East Coast of the United States? And then all of a sudden, Amazon is the only place you can get goods without paying tariff prices?
So I just realized that covered a few things all at one time. Get this, okay, my conspiracy brain is a-brewing. Right now, they have this thing, right, this offshore whatever, to get away from the tariffs, like she said, but they're testing drones to deliver stuff to the East Coast, right? Maybe that's what they're doing. Bezos is like, here's a little bit of cash. You don't know what these are, because he's just trying to be sneaky and underhanded and make some more money. But speaking of Amazon, I have a New Year's resolution. My family, we've decided to cut out Amazon completely because it's so simple. You're like, oh, I need this. I'll order it on Amazon. And it's become an addiction. It really has. But if we can like buckle down and just know, I think we might be able to save enough money and possibly get the heck out of California. Do you have any New Year's resolutions? Let me know.
One of the biggest reasons that we see alien encounters as dangerous or like we're going to be abducted or something is because of these two. This is Betty and Barney Hill, and they were abducted in 1961 on their way home from a road trip. It all started when Betty saw a bright light over the car, and she assumed that it was a shooting star, so she begged Barney to pull the car over so they could look at it with their binoculars. So Barney did what his wife asked, pulled over the car, and they got the binoculars out. Betty looked through the binoculars and said that it looked like an odd-shaped craft, but it was not a shooting star. She saw multicolors. Barney looked through it and said, oh, it's a plane, and then looked again and said, actually, no, it's getting closer and closer. That is not a plane. So they got back in the car and decided they were just going to keep heading home. They made it about a mile down the road before this craft descended upon them very quickly, and Barney stopped the car in the middle of the road, jumped out, got his trusty binoculars, and looked through them to describe what he said was looking like a pancake, but he could see little figures looking out the window at him. He counted 11 of them. The next thing Betty and Barney remember, they were arriving home at dawn. Betty insisted that their luggage be left at the back door. Neither of their watches were working anymore, and they both had the urge to inspect themselves and take a very long shower. Both of the clothes that they were wearing that night were torn and tattered, and the binocular strap had been ripped. Betty kept the dress that she was wearing that night. She said she just felt the need to, and it later went on to be tested several times by several different agencies. But anyways, they both attempted to remember exactly what happened to them during this lost time, but every time they did, they said it literally was like their brain went fuzzy. It was like static in their ears. They couldn't remember anything. So they started trying to draw out what they saw. 10 days later, Betty started having nightmares about what happened, and they would continue for 5 consecutive nights. And then a month later, they both reported the incident to the United States Air Force. But they still couldn't fully remember what had happened. They just reported that they lost time after they saw this craft come down from the sky. In 1964, Betty and Barney both went under hypnosis to reveal what had actually happened to them. The hypnosis revealed that Barney was absolutely terrified throughout this entire event, and these creatures were speaking to him with what he called thought transference. Betty was also terrified, but she insisted that the leader of these creatures showed her a map of stars and said, "This is our home, and these are the routes we use for trade and travel and things of that nature." Betty actually drew the star map from memory, and what's crazy about it is it actually matches a star system up in the sky, Zeta Reticuli, and it's 39 light years away from the Earth. How could she have known that? So now that we know UFOs exist and they are out there, are we going to start taking stories like this more seriously? Because Betty and Barney Hill held on to this to their dying day.
I love that story. And I hope that more people do come forward and share their experiences and we can find out, what's going on? What's going on?
The cigarette industry actually gave us the ultra-processed food industry. So in the 1980s, cigarette companies actually bought up food companies. And in the 1990s, the two largest food companies in the world were R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris. And what did those companies do? They shifted their scientists, as cigarette smoking was declining, they shifted them to the food department. And they made our food addictive. And then they shifted their lobbyists to bribe the USDA to say this crap is healthy. What has this given us? It's given us record rates in 2024 of diabetes, of cancer, of autism, of autoimmune conditions, of every chronic disease is at an all-time high this year among kids. Why hasn't the healthcare industry spoken out? One simple reason. A sick child, a child with chronic disease, is the most profitable dynamic in the healthcare industry because they suffer, they rack up comorbidities, but they don't die. It is a moral blind spot, Rachel, that this isn't the issue we are talking about more than any other because our kids are under threat.
Yeah. And it's very obvious. I mean, look at commercials, how they're trained on children, the bright colors and the cartoon characters and everything, and buy this food, and it makes the children like, ooh, can I have that? And of course you want to appease your children. Oh yeah, okay. And then they're addicted to these foods that keep making them sick, which makes Big Pharma more money. My husband bought me this for Christmas. I haven't even gotten into it yet, but I'm gonna. It's Dr. Kendi Berry, and he's the one that turned me on to carnivore, and I am so excited to crack the cover. I'll let you know what I find out.
Today, they're taking almost half of every dollar earned in the United States. And most people don't realize it because the taxes are hidden in the so-called business taxes. You know, the politician that stands up and yells, oh, let's save the little man, let's tax business, and everybody yells hooray. But they haven't figured out that every tax on business is just a part of the cost of production. And the customer winds up paying it when he buys the product. It's a hidden sales tax. There's 116 of them in the suit of clothes that each one of us is wearing.
We're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it. It's about paying their fair share. I am not mad at anyone for achieving success, but everyone should pay their fair share.
It's the whole trickle-down effect. If the people at the top are paying less to the government, then they can afford to sell their goods at a lower price. When our taxes go up, we have to charge our customers more. And it sucks. It really sucks. You lose business that way. And if the taxes can go down, I can charge my customers less, and they'll be happy and they'll keep coming back.
What I'm saying is I don't believe the history we've been taught. Here's a good example. Have you ever heard about Lewis and Clark going across the Mississippi? In 1803, there was nothing there supposedly back in those days. Okay, so now think about that. So we're talking about like 200 years ago. There was nothing west of the Mississippi as far as the America was concerned. Now talk about when these cities were founded and became cities like we know today. And explain to me how that makes even a lick of sense. Like, so how did Chicago go from like literally like a tent city in 1840 to Chicago like we know it by 1860? You think about all the central planning that would have took. Then you go like to places like San Francisco. San Francisco like had 1,000 people in like 1840. And then there's a panoramic shot very famously that shows the whole city in 1873. And it's a full-grown city. There ain't one bit of construction happening right there, but the whole city is fully grown. San Francisco was supposedly discovered in 1776. So this is around the time what it would have got its name. Well, here's the interesting thing. There's old maps that are 200 years older than that actually either have S. Francisco on it in that same area, Or they straight up say San Francisco. Where Chicago is at, there's old maps from like the 1500s that say Shalaga.
It's almost like a lot of that stuff may have already been there, right? Or maybe there was a lot less bureaucracy and stuff could go up a lot faster, city planning and whatnot. You don't have 1,500 people you have to answer to every single day in order to get a stick put in the ground. I don't know. I can go either way.
One of my favorite diseases is Alzheimer's disease. It's a physician-caused disease. It's a pretty powerful statement. It's a physician-caused disease. We didn't have Alzheimer's disease 40 years ago. It was not in any medical dictionary, medical textbooks. It was not taught in any medical class. It only became a disease entity in 1979. Today, according to Ralph Nader, it rivals cancer in cost, $300,000 per patient, and it's the number 4 killer of adults over the age of 65 behind cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, then comes Alzheimer's disease. Now, we eliminated Alzheimer's disease from animals from 40 years ago. Can you imagine a dairy farmer with 400 head of cows out in the pasture with Alzheimer's disease, and he's yelling at them, woo, and rattling the feed bucket trying to get them up to get milk. And the cows are all out there scratching their heads saying, why do we want to go to the barn to get milk? And if we did, where's the barn? Because they get kind of... So the farmer has to put fuel in the ATV and ride out there and herd them up, and the fuel cost goes up, labor cost goes up, so they have to raise the price of milk. Nobody's happy. So we eliminated Alzheimer's disease by eliminating vegetable oil, corn oil, and soy oil from the animal's diet and putting in large doses of vitamin E and selenium.
And the reason is cholesterol. Remember when cholesterol became a 4-letter word? Stay away from the cholesterol. When there's this thing, it's called the myelin sheath, and it's in your brain, and it's made 100% of cholesterol. And if you don't have enough cholesterol, it deteriorates, which causes dementia, Alzheimer's. And that's very profitable. So maybe that's why they said, ooh, stay away from cholesterol.
Y'all know that farmers aren't allowed to save and reuse their seeds for the crops that they grow? And
as a farmer who grows these seeds, we don't appreciate you telling the whole world the truth. She's right. Large, powerful seed companies make your food more expensive by holding farmers hostage. If you don't already know, farmers don't own their seeds. They pay for the right to plant that seed. This is my corn, but I don't own the genetics to my own corn. So if I harvest it and try to plant more, that's illegal. They can sue me, and they will for a lot of money. But how would they find out? When you're a farmer and you buy your seed, they make you sign a contract. Meaning whenever they want, the seed company can come onto your property, dig up your plant, and check for their genetics. Even if it's an accident, like your neighbor's plant cross-pollinated, they can sue you.
This just absolutely blew my mind. I had no clue. I thought that the farmers were able to plant their own seeds. Apparently not. There's a little field next to us where they grow corn, and we always, see when they harvest the corn, and there's some that they put to we always thought that there was some that they put to the side for the next crop, and lo and behold, no. That's insane. That is absolutely crazy. That's probably why they don't want you having your own little backyard farm, because somebody's not getting their cut.
New Jersey residents are now reporting birds flying in highly unusual patterns, migrating by the thousands out of New Jersey just over the last couple of days. I don't normally inject my opinions, but when I do, I need my hat. First off, birds are highly in tune with magnetic fields. It's how they migrate in the first place. So when something unusual happens to the magnetic field, it can cause them to behave in the way you see here. Now, we've seen this happen before, recently on cruise ships in the Gulf of Mexico, only a few days before the last hurricane made landfall. A hurricane, I might add, that went completely against natural weather patterns. Coincidentally, researchers pointed out strange lasers beaming in the area from these towers, which some critics claim was there to direct the storm's path. If you believe in that sort of thing, not saying I do. What does this have to do with New York and New Jersey? Well, coincidentally, in this area, we have these towers here. And as you likely know, this is where the drone sightings are. And if I were to be the kind of person to wear this sort of hat, I'd say one possibility for this possible magnetic disruption affecting these birds is that they are using these towers to bring one heck of a storm to this area, or trying to attract something else. Side note, since I'm already wearing the hat and I have about 30 seconds left to film, in April of this year, this area experienced a very rare 4.8 magnitude earthquake. They came out in the news saying they discovered a new fault line, which could explain the highest magnitude earthquake recorded in the area for the last several hundred years. Could this have something to do with any of this? Well, we'll find out. That's a video for next time.
I need to get me one of them hats because that's a lot of interesting stuff happening in that area all of a sudden that's unexplainable, right? Yeah, I need a foil hat.
Okay, so this is wild. You see this little stamp on this glyphosate-ridden oatmeal, then this little stamp here on the Cheerios that says American Heart Association? Well, something wasn't adding up to me, so I did a little research, and guess who funds the American Heart Association to the tune of millions and millions and millions of dollars? I think you know where this is going. Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and the rest of Big Pharma. So the very companies that profit when you have heart problems are the same ones funding the association that tells you that this is heart healthy. Wow.
All of this food and pharma is just a vicious cycle. It's just money. That's all it is. All of these scientific studies are bought and paid for by the profiteer. And they're going to tell you what they're told to tell you so that they keep getting the money. Well, I thought I had another clip for you, but I guess I don't. I hope you learned something today or had a good time. And thank you so much for sharing your time with... Oh, look, I didn't light my candle. Oh, well, one of those days. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Please hit that like button. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing and then come on back because we're going to watch some new stuff. I'll say different things and it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day. Oh my gosh, if you haven't seen this already, you got to see what my husband got me for Christmas. It's freaking hilarious. Just hang on. It is so funny. My Great Dane, Athena, she came downstairs on Christmas morning and she saw that and it literally scared the dookie out of her. Like she pooped on the floor. It was a good morning. I hope you had a lovely holiday.